The Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. The following video is presented by the Center for Educational Media in partnership with Professional Educators of Tennessee's Leader U Conference. For more professional development videos, check out our website at cem.mtsu.edu.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Marino. I'm on the board of directors for PET, so thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you supporting this endeavor, and we extremely appreciate your presence here. And I'm going to read this a little bit just so I don't say it wrong. Seema Bailey Swartzel is a 35-year veteran of music education. She has had huge accolades. She has listed up here that she was a Southeast Tennessee Teacher of the Year. She has been a Yale Distinguished Music Educator. She has worked tirelessly in the elementary schools. Currently, she's still teaching at Arnold Memorial Elementary School in Cleveland, Tennessee, where it is definitely a free and reduced school district. So her impact on these children is life-changing. I am absolutely positive. We're so grateful to have her here. She is nationally board certified in early childhood music since 2005, and we appreciate your time in coming here to share with us today.
I'm proud to be here. First of all, yes, I am a nationally board certified teacher, and one of the things that I believe is the most important thing that you can do for your students is to be able to understand what are the most important tools in your tool belt, because we all have things that we pull that we want to do for our students, or we know that there are things that help our students learn, that help our students to achieve, that help our students to expand their capacity and their knowledge. And so one of those things is what I'm going to be doing today is try to help everyone in this room to understand there are different ways to approach learning in not only and using music as part of the tools in your tool belt is just fantastic. And so I'm going to be talking about some of those things today. But one of the things I must qualify to you is music just can't be talked about. It is not that kind of discipline. It must be performed. It must be done. It must be internalized. And what is internalized is retained, and what is retained is what they remember. And it is a great mnemonic device. It helps students to think about things in different ways. But the reason that that happens is because that music accesses multiple areas of the brain. And it helps our students to be able, for this side of the brain, which controls this side of the body, and this side of the brain, which controls this side of the body, to talk to each other. And it helps students, particularly students who have learning challenges like dyslexia, learning challenges like being an ELL student, who do speak English, but they don't always understand it all. It also helps students who have special learning challenges, kids that are SPED ed, kids that need extra work or extra time to help kind of collaborate and get all of that information in their head. Music is one of those things that carries packs a lot of power when it comes to students and their learning. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about a lot today. But first of all, I want to establish that I'm a classroom teacher. I have never left the classroom. No matter what I've done in my life, I've never left the classroom, because I really, really do believe that that's where the power lies. I can make the most amount of difference for the most amount of students if I stay in my strength, which is teaching. And I lead from that classroom, doing things in the summertime, doing other things, and I encourage you to do the same. Lead from your classroom, but you are a leader. I had an administrator come up and say something to a friend of mine who teaches kindergarten, and she said, well, I don't know why he chose me to go to this leadership thing, because I'm not doing leadership anymore. And the administrator says, yeah, you're not a leader. And it really hurt her feelings. And I said, you are. You are. I said, nobody can tell you that you're not a leader, because you are. Because you lead kids year after year after year after year and give them the foundation that they need to move on to first grade to be these productive fourth and fifth graders. I say everybody in the house needs to go up and thank a kindergarten teacher, because they're the ones that lay the foundations for our students to become successful. And sometimes we try to play that old blame game, but really what we need to do is figure out how that we can help the students that we have to come to the next level. And you know what? Sometimes that's difficult because we're facing things with these students that we don't know, or that we don't have, like we get a new kid in and we don't know anything about them and we don't know anything about their situations and what happens. And even this year I had a little boy, he came in and he was just being a ring-tailed tutor. Do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And I thought, he doesn't know me and he doesn't know my room and the way that we work, and all my kids are just doing the right thing. And they turn around there and say, you better straighten up. They're like fussing at him and telling him, you better straighten up. And he's getting all mad and everything. Took him back and I said, you've got two choices here, sweetheart. You've got to try. I said, you'll have to sit back here and watch us until you're ready to try. That's the choices. And he went to the back and stubbed up and acted all ugly. And so he just kept doing things to get attention. I just left him back there and we just kept working. And when the next week he came in, he said, I'm ready to try. He picked up that recorder, 4th grader, started playing it, started learning how to do it. Now he's just, you won't pick him out from the other kids. They just had to get used to us. And sometimes they come from situations where that they just need to know that you're going to be good to your word and that you're going to be good to them in the process. Do you know what I mean? And so it's really important that we create opportunities for every student. I teach at a student with a student population that's 90% free and reduced lunch with 26 different nations represented. I have kids from Uzbekistan. I have kids that in their home they speak French, but when they come to school they speak English and they're from Africa. I have a child that came into my classroom last year and he was from Guatemala and he didn't even speak Spanish. He spoke a dialect, an Indian dialect. And so and then I have kids that come from Haiti and they speak Haitian Creole. And the first thing I do is I sit down and I start talking to them in French and they get a little something if I'm saying the fact that I'm trying to be kind to them, and they get right on my page and we keep moving forward. And you can't believe how wonderful and incredible some of these children turn out to be just because you have a little bit of understanding. Now I'm going to tell you something. I'm a country girl. My dad and my grandfather, my great-grandfather before them were coal miners, okay? But when they heard me in high school, somebody got a hold of me and started on an opera path. And so I do opera. And I did it for many, many years. And I was a Metropolitan Opera regional winner for when I was working on my master's degree. I speak German pretty well because I took that all through high school and college. But most of what I've picked up is the languages that I have spoken and sung. And so I've picked up a little bit of French and I've picked up a little bit of Italian and I've picked up a lot of Spanish in the last 10 years because almost 50% of my kids are from Hispanic countries. But I think that sometimes just trying a little bit of something that sounds familiar and comfortable to them will make all the difference in the world. But my opportunity is to speak and to teach, and my opportunity is to be in that classroom to make a difference for our students. And we're going to talk about this, but you're also going to be seeing some ways that we incorporate other subjects into music and the opposite, where a classroom teacher can take this and say, oh, I could do that. You know, because most people are a little intimidated by music, don't you think? Don't you think? I'm going to have a hard time finding a sub. That's all I know. Is they don't want to come in there and they're like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. But, you know, I try to make it as easy as possible. But I'm just saying a lot of people are very intimidated by it. It's not intimidating. If you like music, you're musical. Is there anybody in here who doesn't like music? Then you're musical. You might not know how to read music or things like that, but you are musical. And I'm going to show you some ways today, hopefully. And I'm going to make you work for it. I'm going to have you come up and do some things and learn some different ways to teach different things. But it'll be fun, I promise you. Now, let's go ahead and let me click this one, because I'm the only person up here doing that, right? Okay. Why music works. Physicians and biologist Lewis Thomas studied the undergraduate majors of medical school applicants. He found out that 66% of music majors who applied to medical school were admitted, the highest percentage of any group. 44% of biochemistry majors were admitted. As reported in the case for music in the schools, Phi Delta Kappa, February 1994, people don't understand the concept that music brings to the brain that helps people to be able to do multiple tasks at the same time, which makes such a difference. We're going to look at why music works. This is just a very short TED Talk.
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain? On the outside, they may look calm and focused, reading the music and making the precise and practiced movements required. But inside their brains, there's a party going on. How do we know this? Well, in the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them in real time with instruments like fMRI and PET scanners. When people are hooked up to these machines, tasks such as reading or doing math problems each have corresponding areas of the brain where activity can be observed. But when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw fireworks. Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience. And our brains do all this work in the split second between when we first hear the music and when our foot starts to tap along. But when scientists turn from observing the brains of music listeners to those of musicians, the little backyard fireworks became a jubilee. It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain. It also combines the linguistic and mathematical precision in which the left hemisphere is more involved with the novel and creative content that the right excels in. For these reasons, playing music has been found to increase the volume and activity in the brain's corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres, allowing messages to get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. This may allow musicians to solve problems more effectively and creatively in both academic and social settings. Because making music also involves crafting and understanding its emotional content and message, musicians often have higher levels of executive function, a category of interlinked tasks that includes planning, strategizing, and attention to detail, and requires simultaneous analysis of both cognitive and emotional aspects. This ability also has an impact on how our memory systems work. And indeed, musicians exhibit enhanced memory functions, creating, storing, and retrieving memories more quickly and efficiently. Studies have found that musicians appear to use their highly connected brains to give each memory multiple tags, such as a conceptual tag, an emotional tag, an audio tag, and a contextual tag, like a good internet search engine. So how do we know that all these benefits are unique to music as opposed to, say, sports or painting? Or could it be that people who go into music were already smarter to begin with? Neuroscientists have explored these issues, but so far they have found that the artistic and aesthetic aspects of learning to play a musical instrument are different from any other activity studied, including other arts. And several randomized studies of participants who showed the same levels of cognitive function and neural processing at the start found that those who were exposed to a period of music learning showed enhancement in multiple brain areas compared to the others. This recent research about the mental benefits of playing music has advanced our understanding of mental function, revealing the inner rhythms and complex interplay that make up the amazing orchestra of our brain.
Now that's kind of cool, and it gives you the medical background of why music is so important and how that it helps to solidify connections in the brain, and also it helps your students. I hate to say it, but the best way to say that is to get smarter. To get smarter and to have different opportunities. Yes, ma'am.
I wish that our administrators and other people in the education department could see this.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's why they're videoing. You can take this back to your supervisor and things like that. I have taught this to my own school.
Because I think they think of us as just a break for the classroom.
They do, and they do, but you know, it's our part of our responsibility, honestly, to advocate.
I would like.
Yeah, we have to advocate. We have to say, yeah, I am your break, but I'm doing so much more that is blessing you in the classroom so your students will be able to learn in a more academically disciplined approach.
If we did that, because there's a lot of pressure on the teachers to have good test scores.
Oh, yeah.
So if we could convince them, we need to see them more than once every
Well, I can't wait for us to get to the end because you're going to like it. Yeah, I promise. I promise. No, I'm going to go on right now, but I agree 100%. I'm like, girl, I got your back on that because that's what I feel too. And because when I went to my school, it was not that way, and everybody thought differently about music. Now, you know, but I've advocated for it too. It's not just I just sat there and just let them beat me up over it. I said, no, you're just uninformed, and I'd like to tell you about it, and I try to be nice about it, and not arrogant, but you know, and the children go back from the room and they're happy and they're excited and they walk in and they're not like crazy, but they're just like, their mood is lifted. You know, the socio-emotional learning happens in that classroom. And I want my classroom to be the place where it's the best part of their day. Unequivocally, it is the best part of their day. Because some of them are not going to be great at math, but I tell them all the time, I say, babies, if you're not good at math, you just need to keep playing music. Let's just keep working rhythm, because I'm telling you, it'll help you be a better math student, because music is math in motion. It just is. You know, I teach fractions, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all the way through, because that's what rhythm is. It's just fractions. And so trying to connect the learning, and create those opportunities for students to be connected to that learning. And I teach history, and I teach language arts, and I teach a lot of things. And then the teacher goes, how'd you know this? And they said, well, Miss Schwartzel taught us. Let's take a look at this together. The subservient approach, the subservient type of integration, where the arts are used strictly as a vehicle for other academic objectives. It is the most commonly used approach to the arts integration. Approach students are able to excel academically through proper implementation of artistic expression through the specific subject areas while directly correlating it to the standards. I do that because I call that cross-curricular connections. I'm constantly making those cross-curricular connections to math, to language arts, because when they're singing a song, they are basically just doing poetry. It's just a lot funner with music. You saw how that Graham Hepburn put that in. By the way, my school has Quaver, and if you don't have it, I've advocated real hard to get it, because it creates an atmosphere where kids get to do things on the computers, and it helps them to have a picture of what music looks and sounds like too, which is really critical with working with kids like SPED Ed, ELL. They need that. They need a picture, and it helps them. But connecting those, and we're going to be learning some of those strategies in here today, and I'm going to make you come up and do them, so don't get too comfortable. All right, the next one, the effective style is found when the teachers use the arts as a way of changing the overall mood of the classroom, such as trying to create a calm atmosphere after recess, or using the arts to achieve goals such as creative expression or building self-esteem. And so they are preparing for academic tasks that lie ahead and potentially face each assignment with deeper meaning, seeing a comprehensive outlook previously anticipated through art. I have a little boy right now, and he has a lot of behavior issues. He came to our school. He's delightful. He's in 2nd grade. He's smart, and he's very musical, but he loses it. He just does what I call a pitch-a-fid. I'm the classroom teacher, and just goes berserko. And so what I have talked to him and figured out is that he is kin to one of my favorites in bluegrass, Ricky Skaggs. And so this little boy loves bluegrass music. So he pitches a fit in the classroom, and she sends him down to me. And I say, go to the back. Go to the back. You're going to sit there for about 10 minutes. And you're going to cool off, and then we're going to talk. Go to the back. Go to the back. And I softly put on a little bit of bluegrass, and I sit there and do my work for about 15 minutes, and I go back and I say, we can't do that again. You got to go apologize to everybody. I said, you have disrupted your class, you've disturbed your teacher. We can't do this again. You've got to do, and if you do it again, this will not be the reward. You will be doing something else for me. I'll be making you right. And I said, but you cannot do this again, honey. And I take him back to the classroom. He apologized to everybody. But we've seen a marked difference in him. because we give him some space to cool off. And he's getting better and better and better and better, and now you don't even know him from any other kid in the school. But the affective style definitely does work, and it works particularly with kids, particularly with behavior issues, okay? Or a classroom that has trouble settling down and transitioning from rowdy recess or rowdy lunch to back to the learning. Okay, the social integration style uses the arts as a vehicle toward participation in school or community events, and it's often exemplified by the form of school programs, assemblies, or holidays. During performances, students are asked to speak publicly in front of an audience, which will enhance public speaking skills and increase skill confidence. Students understand and develop their creative expression, which can be used in the classroom. How many of you do programs with kids in your schools? And how many of you see that getting up in front of people, that sometimes on that stage they're a totally different kid than they are in the classroom? They've been drilled on these songs and they know when to get up and speak their parts and things like that. But it does do a blessing to students. So it is one way of looking at that. And you know, how many of you use music as a way to teach concepts of history? Oh Lord, you've got to do that. You just got to do that, because I'm telling you, it teaches so much. If you are looking for this, write it down, music K through 8. Music K through 8. They're great. They give out a magazine every 2 months. You get the way it's supposed to sound, and then you get the soundtrack to it. You can incorporate those songs all through it. I have one song that I sing every year with my kids called We Are One Nation, because we are such an eclectic school. I like to teach the fact that we all get along, even though we don't all speak English at home, or we don't all do this at home or that at home. And they just have wonderful songs in there about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Just, you know, think about it like Schoolhouse Rock for today. But it's really, they have wonderful songs for socio-emotional learning, and they're really good, and they're not lame. Do you understand what I'm saying about lame? Kids will not sing lame songs. You get something up there that's lame, they're like, you know, it's just like some part of their brain just turns off. But if you do something that's got a good beat, and it's in the right key, and it works for them, yes, 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 hallelujah. Now this is the co-equal cognitive style. The co-equal cognitive style occurs when teachers incorporate objectives that require both cognitive skills as well as aesthetic principles. The style places art objectives on the same important levels with other subjects. In a classroom using this style, the arts curriculum is being taught integrated with reading, math, social studies, and science. The art curriculum is used to enhance teaching. Now I'm going to show you a video, but I'm going to tell you there is a school in Atlanta where they do not do music, and I was mad about that. I said, that's just criminal to me, because it's taking that opportunity away from the students. But when you see the way that they do it, they do incorporate music and the art into it. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of this clip.
Jacoby, what's wrong? I just don't understand geometry. It is so hard. I know what you need. You need to come to my tutoring class. It's great. Come on, Jacoby. You will make straight A's and everything, I promise.
Math rocks. Geometry is killer hot. When you want the area of space, just multiply the height and base. But if the perimeter must be bound, add up the sides all around. Now with the triangle, you cut the base in half.
It's just the fact that, you know, that they integrate music into everything, and I can't really fight that, because to me that's really part of what we all should be doing, is, you know, trying to keep music as a tool in our tool belt. I mean, you can't get in there and sing all the time, but there are things that you can do. This is why we choose music for a vehicle of learning. In sometimes harsh reality of limited time and funding for instruction, the inclusion of the arts in every student's education can sometimes be relegated to a distant wish rather than exciting reality. It doesn't have to be that way. The basic message is that music programs in the schools help our kids and communities in real and substantial ways. You can use the following facts about the benefits of music education based on a growing body of convincing research to move decision makers to make the right choices. And that was from MENC before it was MEN something C. But it's still very good, and it is the benefits of music education. Okay, how do you incorporate music into a regular education classroom? Now, if you're a music teacher, can you do this too? Yeah, you can do this. And your teachers, your friends that are teachers are going to be delighted that you're previewing it or looking at it and letting students see it. Sometimes they're teaching it too, but they're not teaching it the way you're teaching it. They're telling them what to do or how it works, but you're showing them how it works. Okay, this is a 4th grade science objective, and it's the model, and this is, by the way, I know, how many of you know that the music education standards have changed for the state of Tennessee? They changed last year. Well, with that implementation, also we had new science objectives. And so the science objectives are very different, and I had to really, every time they make a change, I have to sit back and look at what I'm doing and say, okay, well, how does this work, or what has changed? Because sometimes I used to do things and that's not part of their model anymore, so I just shift and do something else, because I really want to make sure that I'm doing what's right for my students and what's right for my colleagues to help them to see that music can be taught in different ways. So this, it's just a little, and all of my examples, by the way, are on YouTube. I do it that way, first of all, because of copyright, but also because of the fact that you all can find them. Okay, and they should be, most of these should be in your handout, and if not, they're going to be in the PowerPoint.
One way or another, I'm gonna tell you about transverse and longitudinal. One way or another, you need to know about wavelength, amplitude, and frequency. And one peak to another, that's the wavelength. Amplitude is just how big it is. Frequency is the number of complete waves that pass by in a second. You need to know the EMS for a purpose. Know which wave is best, from radio to gamma. Radio for transmitting, a bit like micro, used for satellite communications. IR, infrared, it can burn you, and it's used for thermal imaging. And UV causes damage or mutations down inside your body cells. However, X-rays see through objects, gamma detects it, or is used to kill the microbes in your food. All these waves are transverse. This means they go up and down. They go up and down.
So that kind of gives you an idea about how that works. And so there are things that, guess what, you're learning them too, but it helps your students to see how that we sing to learn those things. And what is the benefit of singing to learn? Can somebody tell me?
Helps you remember.
It's a fantastic mnemonic device. Yeah, it's a fantastic mnemonic device. We use mnemonic devices to teach things that are out of sequence or order or have no pattern, but will help students to understand them. For instance, kindergarten uses them actively. when you sing Je t'aime maman, which is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, they sing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. So they are learning their, you know, and they sing days of the week, those kind of things. They're singing those things to help them remember all those different concepts that they're going to need. But this was a 4th grade group. Now, 2nd grade, the science objectives are very cool. Now, who can tell me what this is? It's a tuning fork. A tuning fork bought off Amazon for $5.50. Got here in 2 days on Amazon Prime. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But the thing is that a tuning fork is great for students. They're very, very inexpensive to get. And what I usually do is I buy them in a group of like 5. And then I put kids in a group of 3 or 4. And put it right here. And all of a sudden they can hear that pitch. Has anybody not done that before? You haven't? No. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Is that cool?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they think that's so cool because they can barely hear it, but they put it right there, and they can hear that pitch. Hey! And so now this is the thing that I need a couple volunteers for. Can I get some volunteers? Oh, come on. I'm not going to hurt you. Come on. Okay. Now, this is what you're going to do. You're going to hold this bowl. It's full of water. Okay, put your hands on it too. Okay. Okay, and then you're going to tell me what happens when I hit this and put it in the water.
It's sprinkling the water out.
It does, and what else is it doing? Feel it with your hands.
Oh, there it did, yeah.
So what else is that doing? It causes, if you're very still with it, you'll see it causes waves.
Okay. Yes.
Do you see that? So you take students and they're getting to do that 2 at a time, and they take and they hit that thing and they put it in the water, and they're seeing waves happen. And they're also, my daughters, I tried it out with my teenage daughters, and they were so like, you know, and they're like 16, 18, and they could hear the water conducted the sound as well. Now, can you believe that this is in their science objectives? This little experiment right here. Children learn by doing. And they remember, and they're going to say, oh, they're going to go home and say, oh, I did this and I did that, and they're going to do that, and they're going to figure that out. But it's really, this is sound waves. And this is their objective right here. Plan and conduct investigations to demonstrate the cause and effect of relationships between vibrating materials, tuning forks, water, bells, and sound. Okay, so we just did the tuning forks in the water. And so that's something that you can do in your classroom. And they'll think that's so cool. You'll go right up to the top of their list. You get hugs all the way out the door. Okay? Then the next thing is drums and pennies with mallets. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in groups of... Okay. Now, this is what you're going to do. You 3, come get one of those bowrons, get the pennies that are beside it, and the striker, which is this. Okay? But what I want you to see is this is experimentation that you can use with students. Now, you may not have a drum like these. You may have any other kind of drum that you can borrow from the music teacher, or as a music teacher, take one or however many drums you have. Any kind of drum you have will work. These are just shallow drums. This is a bowron, and it is from Ireland. I was really fortunate 2 years ago to have the opportunity to get a grant. I'm a big grant writer because we're not a rich school. And so I wrote a grant through a fund for teachers out of Houston, Texas. And I and a colleague from another school system, we went to Ireland to learn true, authentic St. Snow Irish music. And so I bought this bowron in Ireland, and we came back and wrote another grant to have, we have 25 of these in my classroom. And this is a tipper, and this is the way you would play it. Yours has an X in it, but the way it would be played is... So they play it, and the drum is just to keep the beat. The music is so fast that it is very, very difficult to, you know, and so you're keeping that steady beat like that was in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. And mine is tunable, those are not, but they still work really well for small children. So what you're going to do is that one of you is going to take and put the pennies on top of the bowron. Okay. And gather around. And usually I give them a little half sheet on what happened when I did this, what happened when I did that, what do you think, you know, gives me an idea about what they learned and what they thought. Okay. So here we go. You're going to play the bowron underneath with the tipper. So you're going to do this. Hit it underneath and put the pennies on top. The pennies are dancing, aren't they? They're dancing. So when you are making, and what I do is I tell them, okay, now take the pennies off and pass it to each person and play the bowron. Put your hand in next to the skin and then feel it and tell them what happens then. And I let each one of them do that. So you do that right now. What's happening when you do that? Sometimes children don't know the term. They say it's moving, or they say it's tickling my hand. Sometimes they don't know. But what we do in that unit is we say that's what we call vibration. That's what we call vibration. And we also tell them what happens when you play it, and then you stop and hold it to the bowron. What happens? The vibration stops. And when the vibration stops, that means the sound stops. And so that sound, and then I told them about how that sound is coming to your ear, and your ear's picking it up as sound. And it may be in different ways, you know, that when you play it, you get a different sound, which is called timbre. And I teach timbre very much in 1st and 2nd grade, how different things make different sounds. And so different colors of sounds, and we talk about it. It's like painting. You know, you wouldn't always use red, because it would be very boring. So you use different qualities of sound to make a sound picture that sounds wonderful to you. So does that give you an idea about using science in music, or music in your regular classroom to teach science? Okay, good. All right, if you guys that brought them up, if you'll bring them back. And I'll start over here. One of the things that they say in the 5th grade or in the 2nd grade science is to use bells. But one of the things I think that bells do not help us teach is size-pitch relationship. And so this is, how many of you who are music teachers have these instruments in your classroom? They're cheap and they're easily accessible. They are boom whackers. They're not too expensive, and but they are great because all you have to do is put one of these in a kid's hand, and they can hit it on their arm, on their leg, on the floor if you want it louder to get different sounds. But listen. I'm going to lay these down so I can play it. Do y'all ever watch the Late Show? Do you ever? Because most teachers don't stay up that late, but you can watch it like on YouTube or things like that. He gets a lot of people together and he makes them play classroom instruments and they sing a song. They use boom whackers, and so. But listen. I'm not doing this very well. But guess what? I don't know how many we have in here, but we have more than I brought. So I brought what they told me was going to be in here, and I have more, which is cool. But you can make anything you want to out of vibration. And what's more, you can keep that one. Thank you. What's more, they can feel those things vibrating. And I'll also have them sing the pitch. You want to hand some out? Okay.
One per person?
Whatever you can get to, because we don't have enough for everybody. Just get one or whatever, and we're going to talk about the colors. Okay. With my little ones, I teach the colors first, and then I teach the solfege next. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So I teach those next, which is a lot of fun. But what we do with these when we're teaching science is we're teaching that the different lengths of them teach different. Did you see what I had? I had them all lined up, and there was a big red and a little red. The little red makes a high sound. The big red makes a low sound. And so one of the things about teaching good students to be able to sing is they not only have to sing it, they have to do it, and they have to experience it, and they have to do it in different ways. For instance, we will sing a song, and then we will play it with different ways. I'll play it with, we'll play it with boom whackers, we'll play it with melody bells. We'll stand on the stairs. We go and find a set of stairs, and we'll start with the big low one on the bottom stair and the little one on the high stair and all the rest of them in between. So I'm going to have you, if you've got a big red, hold it up, a big red. Okay, now you're going to play this rhythm. Listen. On the desk. There you go, Cheryl, you got it. Let's try it again. Now, if you have the orange, you're going to play yellow. Okay. Green, the light green, the lime green. The aqua, which is the darker green. Okay. Then the purple. Then the pink. Then the little red. Now, the name of that song with my students is called Ebenezer Sneezer, and it teaches that basic diatonic scale, which is big red, ready, 1, 2, ready, go. Ebenezer Sneezer, orange. Topsy-turvy man, yellow. Walks upon his elbow, lime green. Every time he can, aqua. Dresses up in paper, lime, or the aqua. Dresses up, ready, 1, 2, ready, go. Dresses up in paper. Then we had the purple. Every time it pours, pink. Whistles, Yankee Doodle, little red. Every time it snores. So that's what how they learn that. But they also learn that these have different size. And every size, the biggest ones are lower, and the littlest one is higher. And they learn that over and over and over. And that is that size-pitch relationship that correlates with this. But boom whackers are much better than bells. Can I tell you why? It's a visual. Why else?
Color-coded.
Color-coded. Why else?
They're fun. You can tap them on the floor and they're bobbing.
You can do all kinds of craziness with them, and the children just love them. They just come out of there skipping and singing and loving it. But they also, the bells are not size pitch related. And the bells, they will ring them at the wrong time. And when you play, I've got this one, let me see. Can you play yours while I play this one? Yeah, 1, 2, ready, go. When you play two that are on the same, that are right next to each other on the scale, it makes dissonance. It's like when they were doing Jaws. Da-na, da-na, that's a dissonance, and it makes that dissonant sound. So when they're ringing bells, I'm telling you, if they get to all that dissonant stuff, it'll give you a headache right quick. You'll only do it once. And you'll think, I can't do that no more. That's driving me nuts. But these are just so much better because they're so much more conducive to student work. Okay? But remember, that's a second grade objective. So can you go by and get those? Thank you. Does that give you some ideas? I just want to be practical with you all. I don't want to be talking highfalutin the whole time. I would rather be practical. I think that music is a fantastic correlation with history. One of the things that I find today is history is not taught as much in the regular classroom. History has been relegated to like an ELL kind of thing where they write about history or they do other things, but they don't teach history for history's sake anymore. And so I like to teach history for history's sake and add the music in. And one of the things that I did for several years was the year before, the year of, and the year after was the anniversary, 200th anniversary of the Star Spangled Banner. And I think that that's really important that kids need to know the Star Spangled Banner, and they need to know what happened during that time and things like that. And that is a second grade social studies objective. So I think that it's really good for them to learn that. Now I'm going to tell you 3 different ways that I teach this. First of all, I show them some videos that talk about the the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner. And why do I do that? For picture's sake. Because if you're a child that just came over from Mexico or Guatemala, that makes no sense to you at all. And the language is really high flown for a second grader. Don't you agree? Very high flown for a second grader. So showing them pictures helps them to have a concept or an idea. Now in second grade, the social studies objectives used to be that they had to know like they had to know the symbols of America. They needed to know the Liberty Bell and the eagle, and they needed to know the flag, and they needed to know like the Statue of Liberty. Those were second grade social studies objectives. That has changed and morphed into this, but it really does help them see this. Now I don't think that I'm going to show you both of the videos, but those are both going to be on this PowerPoint, and it's going to be at the website. But this is going to give you an idea. This is a great visual for kids, and it also helps those kids who are not native language speakers. But there's also some great cartoons on YouTube that talk about it, that bring it down kind of into that language and contextual thing too. But one of the things is one of the sweetest things I ever had happen, and I've kept the letter because it was just precious. I had a little girl, and she was from Mexico, and she spoke very little English, and we laughed about it because when she never exited even 5th grade. And I said, why has she not exited 5th grade for ELL? And they said, well, she just doesn't try too hard. She liked to speak English, but she didn't like to learn in it. Do you know what I mean? But she wrote me the most beautiful letter, which I thought was precious, in 2nd grade. And she spelled my name wrong and said, thank you for teaching me Cantare de America. And so it was kind of in Spanglish from there on out, but it meant more to me than anything because she loved it. Another thing that I do with this as well, and you may choose to do this or you may choose to pass this along to a classroom teacher because this is really good as well. Once they have a full comprehension of what the song means, create a book and give each one of the kids a section of the lyrics. Oh, say, can you see? And they have to draw the picture. And I give them a little like, I've already typed it out and given it to them, so I give them the little thing. And once they're finished with their artwork and they make it very bright and very colorful, we put that label on there, and then I scan them, and then I show them their book. And I give the book to the teacher for an artifact to say that we learned this in music. And the kids are proud of it, but it's a great way to show that. Okay, now this one is kind of weird, but a lot of times if you're a classroom teacher, you're looking at way to identify nouns and verbs. And one of the songs that I saw that a teacher had used was interactive or radioactive. How many of you know Imagine Dragons? Okay. They took a song that was popular on the radio. Now, I'm not going to show you this one, but they took a song that was on the radio that was popular, and they put the words down in front of the kids, and they gave them highlighters. And they were listening to the song, and they were, you know, and they'd stop it, let them do the first verse. You know, nouns are in pink, verbs are in orange, or whatever marker that they had. But they were using those lyrics, and they loved it because it was a song that they liked, and they listened to on the radio. And I could just see kids going home and saying, oh, that song's got nouns and verbs in it, and this is one of the nouns, and this is one of the verbs, and they're singing along with it in the car, and the mother's going, But that's a great way to teach that in that specific area. Pick your song. Okay, social studies, 5th grade. Okay, one of the social studies objectives that is written here, if you'll see it down here, make connections with the growth of popular culture of the Roaring '20s with the following. W.C. Handy, Bessie Smith, automobiles, radios, and Nickelodeons, Harlem Renaissance, WSM, Grand Ole Opry, Charles Lindbergh, and the Spirit of St. Louis, mass production, just-in-time inventory, and appliances. If you're a music teacher, there are 2 people right there in the front, W.C. Handy, father of the blues, and Bessie Smith, who was the empress of blues. And we learned, what I do in my classroom with that is I show them a video that it should be in your handout, but I show them that video on both of those people, the Empress of the Blues and W.C. Handy. I don't show them all of it, I just show them a little bit of it. But then I talk about how that Bessie Smith, she was going up north with her music because she'd scored a recording contract with Columbia Records. And the problem was that her band could not stay in any hotels or be served in any restaurants. Now she's a woman and she's made some good money, and she's, you know, she was an orphan, but she took care of her people. And the way she took care of her people is that she designed a boxcar for sleeping, one for men, one for women, and a 3rd boxcar for eating. And she hired people to take care of all that. When she took her band up north or down south where they couldn't find lodging and couldn't be fed, what'd she do? She kept them on a train. She made sure that they were taken care of, and they didn't have to feel less than, because it was nice what that she did. She did it like elegantly. And so she was just that kind of gal. And you know, to have that in the 1920s, I'll ask students, what do you think that, how do you think that made the people around her feel? How do you think that that impacted her music? How do you think that, you know, that impacted the way they felt about her? Thinking about in the 1920s, when all these laws were in effect and they were in the Harlem Renaissance, how that she'd learned how to circumvent those horrible rules. That's good stuff for kids to know. It's really good stuff. And W.C. Handy, his daddy wanted him to be somebody special, and he ended up playing in all these kind of things. But nonetheless, he's like, what was it I was seeing the other day? It was Stevie Wonder, that he won an Academy Award for singing the St. Louis Blues. The St. Louis Blues is W.C. Handy. And so, you know, that music lives on. And so, you know, it gives, you know, I'm really big about giving perspective to my students, because my students don't come from one perspective. They come from multiple perspectives. And I'm not just teaching it for the students that come from different cultures and different backgrounds. I'm teaching it for the kids who are like me, who nobody ever talked to you about that before, or never let you realize that, you know, that we all have a part to play. We all have a part to play. So that's a good opportunity for social studies and 5th grade. Okay, now this is one that I'm going to show you. The video is in there, but I'm going to show you this book. It is fantastic. I teach it to every grade level. Can you tell us about it?
Well, it in a simple way, it tells elementary students about the life of Marian Anderson. And when I know the tune of the spiritual that they mentioned, I try to sing a little bit of it. I don't know all the tune.
It's fantastic, though. It talks about how that she was just an incredibly gifted child, and that she, but she was kept out because of her color. And how that a really remarkable woman named Eleanor Roosevelt, who's one of my absolute favorites in the world, gave her the opportunity when they wouldn't let her sing at the Metropolitan Opera. She put her on the steps of the Capitol, and she sang there, and it was promoted all over the world in the newsreels and everything like that. But that she had a gift, and nobody was going to take that gift away from her. And it's just a beauty, because we want to teach, what do we want to teach our students besides music? Empathy. Empathy. We want them to feel how that person felt and think how that person feels, because that's what we need to do in the world. We're raising better people, right? Yeah, yeah. Another one that I use, particularly, I only teach it in 3rd grade, and it's a very special book to my students and I. It's Follow the Drinking Gourd by Jeanette Winter. This was a spiritual that was written by a white man who was an abolitionist, and he wrote this spiritual, and he helped Slaves were not allowed to read and write, but honey, they could sing. And they would sing and memorize the song, and he'd move on to another plantation. He was a carpenter, and he was called Peg Leg Joe. He only had one leg. And so he was an abolitionist, though. It's a great book, and it's great for your students to sing and learn. And I teach it to them on the xylophones. And it's in a D minor key, and it's, you know, it's got that nice soulful sound to it. But it's a fantastic book, and it's in the back. So if your librarian doesn't have it, get it, because the song's back there. And you can go to multiple places on YouTube and get the music, so you can learn it as well. But that's a fantastic book. And it teaches the history. One of the things I do before I teach this, I do a timeline, because my students don't seem to understand in third grade that, that Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King didn't live at the same time. He thought they're all just thrown in there together. And when I teach them that Martin Luther King Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation, and then they go to Martin Luther King 100 years later, and all the good that he did for our whole country. And then going on to show them that a President, Barack Obama, how that we have shifted. And I always tell them, I said, we're not where we need to be. Thank God we are not where we are. You know, we have to teach that to them and help them understand. And the last one, this is a new one, and I love this one because this one also works in with teaching acoustics and things like that. It's called Ada's Violin, and it's about a family that lives in a South American country, and they live on the dump. Poorest, most, you know, horrible existence that they could find, but that some man went through and started creating instruments out of the junk and taught them how to play violins and violas and cellos and all these things. And then when they got good enough, they were able to go on to the youth symphony of that country and play. And it's just a beautiful, and the reason I really like to incorporate books like this particularly is because I have a strong body of people who can identify with the look of these students. And they can identify with moving, you know, with being poor, and they can identify with all the things that they're learning. But this is a great book as well. I'm going to be reading this next week at my Read to Learn group with my school. But I love it, and I take a real violin and let them see the difference. But it's really cool to have those kind of resources as well, not only as a music teacher, but as a classroom teacher. Hold on. Ada's Violin, pardon me, because you know I'm blind. Basically, that word is old. Okay. Susan Hood, illustrated by Sally Warren Comport. You need me to pass it around?
Is that a true story?
It is. It is. And there's several of them. I know there's one in Argentina as well. I think it's Paraguay. Like I said, I just got it. I got it through the Chattanooga Symphony. Did you get one too? Yeah. And I just got it, but I read through it and I just wept. It was so sweet.
There was a movie named
Yes. And that was, I think, the group in Argentina, because one of those children from the slums is now the director of he was the director of the Youth Symphony for Argentina, and then he went on to New York City, and he's doing the same thing in New York City, using those strategies. It's really cool. But one of the things I want to tell you my school does that's really cool, and it might be something you'd be interested in like helping a grade level do this, and this is second grade, is they do a wax museum where they allow all these students to be these kind of people, and Miriam Anderson is one of them. But there's just a lot of them that are here, and it's really great for kids to experience. They have to write like bios, and they have to stand up when you hit their head. They have to stand up and read them. It's very sweet, and it's very precious, and they never forget it because it's wonderful. Okay, middle school. Here we're getting to this. Songs as writing prompts. Songs that are movie themes are great because kids really identify with those. Anything that's in Star Wars, kids flip out on. I don't know why, but they do. It's come back as popular as ever. But, you know, having them listen to that music and then write what they think that music is saying or feeling. I don't always choose like the main theme or I don't always use the Darth Vader theme or the Leah's theme. I choose something kind of off the chart a little bit and have them write. And then jingles to teach persuasives. Let's take a look at this. How many of you remember jingles to this day? Yeah, they're really catchy and they're a great opportunity for people to hear music. This was just really cute.
I'm working for an hourly wage. I went to high school, didn't do great. Still I gotta make more cash. More education is what I'm looking at. When I get a degree, I will make a bigger salary. So now I've got to see which college is right for me. I went on the internet and found Education Connection. I took some free tests to find out my direction. I'm taking my classes online, getting my degree on my own time. Education Connection matched me with the right college for free. Get connected for free. With Education Connection. Get connected for free. With Education Connection.
Hey now kids, come gather around. See what just skipped into town. So skip it, do run, do jump, do hop, hop. Skip it, skipping and a screaming and a bop to bop. But the very best thing of all, there's a counter on this ball. So try to beat your very best score. See if you can jump a whole lot more. Skip it, come on everybody, skip it. Roaring good fun from Tiger Toys.
But see, those kind of things are jingles and they're persuasive, and you can talk about using that as a way to show that people are writing persuasively in many genres, many modalities. Have students analyze the jingle as you might analyze an article or review, or better yet, have them write one and put it to their own music. Kids are kind of not real comfortable with that at first, but they get more comfortable the more you do it. Now this is my favorite one, and I've used it a lot even with my 5th graders, is Soundtrack of My Life. Students write in a narrative style to describe, depending on your group, could be 5 songs, could be 8 songs, could be something else, that they're important to them, that have a meaning in their life. Then they create a jacket cover, retro style. Listen, vinyl is huge right now. People pay $30 and $40 for a vinyl, and they're all gorgeously colored. My daughter wanted she wanted a record player a few years ago, and she's got all these great things with groups that she likes, like Panic at the Disco and all these things, and they're just gorgeous. But this is one of the things that they're into right now, and it kind of piques their curiosity. To describe and create artwork as a project to show their work using lyrics to describe their project and how that they come to choose these songs. How do you think that this might also be a gift to you as a teacher?
I teach public relations at a college, and that is something that I'm going to use. I'm a general manager also of a radio station on a college campus. Yes. So I've always incorporated music into my classes, and it just makes it easier. The last semester I taught fundamentals of speech, and what I did was I taught them TED Talks, because they have to learn how to speak and to engage, and I keep my classroom always on an engagement.
I just think that this gives you an insight into the kids, doesn't it? Yeah. Gives you, and particularly a kid that's really troubled, a kid that's struggling. Once you get kind of in their head and see what they're feeling and things like that, and you're talking to them about it, and you're listening and putting them on an adult level. You're having a regular conversation, not get to work, quit that. But you're talking to them one-on-one on why that song was important to you. And then they're going back and they're writing that, and you're helping them. I always tell them, I'm not going to tell you what to say, but all I'm going to do is help you clarify what you are saying. I want it to be your words, but I want to help you clarify it with the right spelling, the right punctuation, so that when somebody else reads it, they really hear what you're saying. They hear it in their head. And that's really important as well. Now, the next one is reviews as literary analysis. If you will go to Amazon or Rolling Stones for reviews of songs or things like that, they can read it and say, I think this was right because yada, 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 or I think this was just They'll tell you the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. But that's a great way to use literary analysis. Some of these kind of things are great. I always sell these to people that teach like a performance group, because mostly when you get into middle and high school, you're in performance mode. You know what I mean? You've got a choir thing to prevent, you've got a band concert to do, but once that concert is over, you just don't want them sitting there watching some video. You want them doing something that has a purpose to it. And these kind of things do have purpose to them, and it gives them a chance to share their philosophy and their thoughts, because most of the time, if you know that about middle school, nobody asks their opinion. It's just get it done, get it done, get it done. You know, they don't get the chance to do that, and it's very good for them. And it's good for you as well. This is one that's really good. This is like high school history AP. And this is Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. And if you look at all these topics that they're having to do, the Cold War, America as a world power, the Vietnam War, the Great Society, the African American civil rights music, and the youth culture of the 1960s, you're going to see this song just completely nails it. Now, brain breaks. Brain breaks. These are things that you can do in the classroom to transition or to work with students. One of the things that I use a lot is scarves. And I will take scarves and have put on a classical piece of music. This one is Camille Saint-Saëns. This is Camille Saint-Saëns, The Aquarium. Then the next one is rhythm games with the ball. I brought a ball. Okay, you can do skip counting with the ball. Okay, I'm gonna throw it to you. Okay, you throw it back to me. 2. What do you say?
3.
Skip counting in 2.
4, sorry.
Good. 6. Of course, they don't have all that. We tell them clear the thing. Okay, 6.
8.
10.
12.
14.
16.
18.
20. 22.
24.
26.
28.
30. You get the feel of that? The other thing that I do is I play games with them. I have a game called Acca-Bacca Soda Cracker, Acca-Bacca Boo, Acca-Bacca Soda Cracker, Out Goes You, and they have to bounce it to each other. So Acca-Bacca, and that's going to come up to you, Soda Cracker, and they go around, and after 4 things, somebody's out. And we play that with the older kids, and I say, okay, now we played that in kindergarten. You never recognize this, but I want you to sit there, and I want you to think about that. If I start right here with this person, how many turns would you have to take before you get out? So what are they using? 4s. Okay, so they're going 4, 8. Do you see what I mean? Makes that little brain click, doesn't it? And they play that game. It's just brain breaks that help kids to do something physical and do something mental at the same time. The other one is rhythm games with sticks. Those are a lot of fun. You have a set of sticks, pick it up. Okay. Let's stand. Okay. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. T, 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 ta. Ta, ta, ta. T, T, ta, T, T, ta. Okay, have a seat. That is cool because you can do that not only with a set of sticks in the room, you can also do it with your feet and your hands if they're in line and they're waiting outside to get to somewhere and they have to wait. Do you know what I mean? You can have it soft. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have to do that. They can do that and it really engages their brain and their mind, but they're just little games that kind of give them brain breaks. And then This is great for high school or any age. I'm going to tell you this, my kids are absolutely they're just completely fascinated with this. Now, this is what I'm going to show you. This is the thing that we're going to end up on, okay? Music is a catalyst for all learners, but the unintentional effect on student achievement. I went to this school 8 years ago, and these kids were wild. They were mean to each other. They were disrespectful to me. That was not what I signed on for. They had never, they didn't, when I tested the first group of fifth graders, they had not had any of the concepts and processes of music. I knew one kid in each fifth grade class could do the normal stuff that a fifth grader could do. It's appalling to me as if I was a fifth grade teacher that went into the classroom and nobody could read. They just couldn't do anything music. They had done worksheets and they had watched videos and that was it. And so I had to find a way to kind of pull these kids together. So I saw something on a video called the Trash Can Band. And I thought, I want to do that. So I connected with a friend of mine, and he had a trash can band at a middle school. I said, I want to do that at elementary school. He said, it's kind of hard. And I said, well, I think the more I expect out of them, the better they'll do. And then what I did also is I contacted a young man who teaches percussion at the high school, and he wrote an arrangement for me. And we started doing this trash can band. We've been doing this trash can band for 8 years now. They won't let me quit it. It's kind of like Medea for Tyler Perry. Nobody will let them quit. They won't let me quit it, but they love it. And this was the unintentional effect on the student achievement. I want to just let you see just a piece of it so you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now that was my first group of kids, and out of that first group of people, let me tell you what happened to that first group of kids, those fifth graders. The math scores for our fifth graders grew exponentially, and they were 4 deviations below the mean for math in fourth grade. In that 1 year, they went 5 deviations above the mean for fifth grade. So you're talking about a 9 deviation growth. It was the largest growth in the state of Tennessee for a fifth grade group of kids. Now you can see my kids are very, very varied, okay? They are from different places. They have all different kinds of backgrounds, but this helped us to go from a focus school to a reward school in 3 years. And like I said, our math scores are still off the chain. And what I'm going to do with you today is stand up and get your sticks, and I'm going to teach you some of this. Okay, that's the arrangement, first page, okay? Now, I'm going to teach it to you a line at a time. Everybody turn this way. I'm going to play on the back of my chair. You play on the back of your chair sitting right there, darling. We make accommodations, don't we, for everybody, okay? Now I'm going to teach it to you, and what we're playing is the yellow line. I color do these because that way my kids track better. You know, now I could probably not do it, but I still do it for new kids that walk in because I'm a transient school, and I have a lot of new kids walk in all the time. And this is really fun, though, and it really engages them. Okay, here we go. Now, this is, I'm going to play the first line. You play it back to me, just back and forth. 1 and 2, 4. 1 and 2, 4. 1 and 2, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and. Okay, let's just say that, and you play it back to me. I'm going to point to here. 1 and 2, 4. 1 and 2, 4. 1 and 2, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and. Good, now let's put it together. Ready? I'm the stick clicker because I get the tempo started. I'm the boss, I'm the director. So that's my job. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 4. 1 and 2, 4. 1 and 2. 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and off. Good. It has a repeat sign there, so we'll do that twice. But right now, I want you to look at the blue line. It says stick clicks, and it's like this. 1 and 2 and 3. Can you listen first, and I'll show you what it sounds like? I know, I have to do that all the time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 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 Now let's do it together. 1, 2, ready, go. Off. Now, let's do this. If you're on this side, you're going to be playing click sticks. Doing that click sticks. If you're on this side, you're going to play 1 and 2, 4. 1, 2, ready, go. Off. Now y'all do the same thing, and I'm going to do that green line down there. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Off. Good. You see how that works? I've got three different groups doing 3 different parts. Now watch this one. Look at the A. Everybody see the A up there? Okay. Now this one is like this. Watch. I'm going to play one line at a time. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. Can you try that with me? I play first. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can try that with me. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just that straight rhythm. Let's do it again. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, good. Now you guys are going to do this click sticks again, okay? Let's do it with that rhythm. 1, 2, ready, go. 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. 1, 2. Off. Okay, now listen to me. Everybody sit down. We're starting to lose our time. But this is what I wanted to tell you, is that these, and if you would please go ahead and put your rubber band back on there, and I'll have a bucket ready for you to drop when you leave. But let me just tell you this. Out of this group of students that I began to work with 8 years ago, they have now graduated, they just graduated high school this year. They came in and when we started looking at these students, and to be real honest, nobody thought very much of when they were in 4th and 5th grade. Low scores, crazy attitudes, just all kinds of stuff going on. Out of that group of children, we have had 0 of that group of children to go to any of the academies or any of the students that have behavior issues. 0. In that group, we had 2 cheerleading captains, 2 football captains, a captain of the high school show choir Renaissance. We had the only 33, I think, in the whole school for the ACT. In that group, we had kids that don't get in trouble, kids who created opportunities for themselves, kids that started to believe in themselves, kids that did well academically, socially, and emotionally. And they're going on, and you couldn't believe where they're going to college. I mean, they're going to Air Force academies, and they're going to, you know, and the range of what they're planning to do with their lives. And I can't help but think that music was such a powerful force for them when they were little, that it makes such a difference for them. So I hope that you will go forward and do good. And I hope that I brought some things to your mind or to your memory that you might be able to use in your classroom. And I thank you so much for choosing me today. And I hope that you all have an excellent school year. But if you ever have any questions or any way that I can help you personally, please feel free to contact me. I don't do fund for teachers, or I don't do teachers pay teachers. I willingly give my stuff away, because if I'm helping you do something good for your students, then I feel like I'm doing the right thing. So thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed today.